Welcome back, everybody. We're actually down to our last event for the day, which will be a multiple STE experiencers panel. And it's one of the things I've been looking forward to all day. This is a concept that Dr. Cason used in Philadelphia a couple of years ago, and I was one of her panelists. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was very well received. So we're going to try it out today, and I think everybody will enjoy it. And we have three panelists. I'm going to introduce one. I'm going to introduce each one before they talk. And we have Wendy Williams, Tamara Calder Richardson, and Greg Thompson here. And since Wendy is going to screen share, I thought we'd start with her. And I'm just going to give you just a quick background and turn it over to her. Wendy is a multiple STE experiencer, a multiple NDE experiencer. She's a certified spiritual teacher, a Reiki master, energy healer, host of the Waking Up Spirituality podcast, an award-winning author, hypnotherapist, past life adventure guide, and she helps adults from around the world release pain, anxiety, and depression. And Wendy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
I want to add one thing, by the way. At the very end, we'll have a question and answer period. In the chat box, if you have a specific question for a specific panelist, please indicate that. And if you have something that you want each of the panelists to answer collectively, please indicate that also. Sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
Oh, you're great. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to participate in this wonderful topic, because yes, so many of us do find once you have had one spiritually transformative experience, and thank you, Yvonne, for giving us a term for that, because my goodness, just trying to normalize these things, it can be a big deal for people. I had 2 NDEs while I was pregnant in the same week in August of '97, and that's what I'll be talking about today. But just to let you know quickly, some of the other STEs that I've had, in 2010, I discovered a soulmate who I learned had the soul contract to, quote, wake me up spiritually. So yes, that really is a thing. That truly can be a thing. And we discovered 19 shared lives together. So that altered my life completely. I also, in 2013, working with my first spiritual teacher, thankfully, I had beautiful support. I recovered memories of having been part of a hybridization program with off-planet galactic beings, aliens, choose your term. And that was incredibly off-putting and hard to deal with. So again, I was very fortunate because I was working with a spiritual teacher, and we made sense of it together over time. And I had a full Kundalini rising in June of 2013. A humorous moment from that was when that energy went all the way up my spine as I was meditating at home, alone in my bedroom with a Kundalini meditation CD from Tom Kenyon. So much energy blew out of my crown chakra at the top of my head. I was absolutely convinced I'd blown a hole in the roof. So it really was quite an experience. And just the love, feeling my heart blow open, was just a really, really big deal with all that energy. And what this photo represents, I had the good fortune to have shared death communication and a visit from my uncle right when he was passing on and doing his farewell tour, because he visited other family members too that same morning and then passed on peacefully. a few hours later. But in December of 2015, uh, this was the day after that experience of him communicating with me that he was passing on, and I just wanted him to have this like easy ride back up to heaven, back up to the light. And my family and I decided we would go ahead. We'd already purchased tickets to go to this Christmas light exhibit. We decided to go ahead with it anyway. And look at the light, because I was just standing there. You can hardly see me. I'm immediately to the right of my snowman. My daughters are much taller than me, so I'm the little one there, and we're all bundled up for the cold night. But look at the light. There were absolutely no lights like this there. I really believe that, to my shock and amazement, that I got a picture of me just imagining and seeing him going up to the light, and there it is. So that was just incredible experience. But let's talk about the near-death experiences. What happened was in August of 97, I was 10 weeks pregnant with my youngest daughter. We were thrilled. My husband and I were both over the moon. There'd been infertility, there'd been 2 ectopic pregnancies, and we also had an 18-month-old toddler. Everything was looking great at that one doctor visit that I'd had. As I said, I was only 10 weeks along, except I was having some very interesting precognitive dreams. And what would happen, I didn't know at the time they were precognitive. I didn't understand the concept of you can be having a dream that can show you this preview of what might be coming up in your life. What I would see in the dream almost every night, and it was just so vivid and it did not change. I would see this ship out in this terrible storm out in the ocean. And there was just all these big waves just ripping and tearing. The masts would tear off, the winches, the cleats, everything would tear off. The ship would break in two and the ship would go down. And I didn't know that my subconscious was trying to tell me that I had a major health issue that was coming up that was going to lead to and become the near-death experiences. I was also having this incredible heartburn that just did not make sense to me. Why so much heartburn so early in a pregnancy? I'd called the doctor's office about it several times, and they said, every pregnancy is different. Just take Mylanta. We'll see at your next visit type of thing. What happened was I was working at home, and my husband was at work with one of our cars. Our nanny's at the park with our little toddler with the other car. So I'm home alone, and I just cannot get comfortable. Something feels increasingly off, wrong. And it actually started to become this feeling of impending doom. And I have never felt that before or since. Again, my body, my psyche was just trying to get my attention. So I kept going into the bathroom thinking I'm going to be sick. What is wrong here? And I did that one more time. And there just was this searing pain in my abdomen. I looked down in surprise because it literally felt like someone had stabbed me. And I just felt something rip and tear, just like all those boats and ships that I had seen that kept going down. And I passed out on the floor. And I believe I only came to because there was this insistent male voice that just kept saying, Wendy, you've got to wake up now. You've got to call for help now, or you're going home. So I open my eyes. I'm laying in a fetal position, just clutching my belly on the floor of the bathroom. And the bathroom was just entirely flooded with light. I have never seen so much light in my life. There was just these magnificent, huge rays of light coming off these 4 or 5 large beings that completely filled the bathroom. And I can only describe them as angels. I knew they were angels. I heard the word angels. And it just was amazing because it took it from do I really believe in angels? It's a nice thought into absolute direct experience. There is no way I will ever not believe in angels, because there they were. And I said to the angel, okay, I understand. I've got to get to the phone, but I can't walk. I'm in so much pain. And what he said was, you just have to be willing to try. So I managed to get up on my hands and knees, and then it was like being gently lifted. I can only describe it was like being flown just a few inches off the floor, and the angels moved me from the bathroom into the master bedroom, just right next door to it. And I was able to reach up and get the landline phone off my nightstand. I immediately called my husband at work, because the angel said, call for help now. He didn't say call 911. So I called my husband, which made good sense because my husband worked 5 minutes from home. And the miracles continued because I reached my husband at work. I do not think I've ever reached him at work immediately on a call like that. I give him great credit. All I said was, I need you to drive me to the hospital immediately now. Can you do that? And all he said was, be right there. And he just threw the phone down, and I knew he was on his way. I just had time to call the OBGYN office and tell them what was going on. I told them that there was a searing pain, and I felt like something had ripped or torn, like an organ had burst, was the only way I could describe what had happened. I told them my abdomen was distending a lot. I could just see my abdomen rising. And I told them I was not bleeding vaginally. And they said, okay, that's great. Your husband's on the way. Get here as fast as you can, and do not walk when you get here. Do not park your car. We're going to meet you with a wheelchair right down um, outside the maternity entrance, right by our office entrance. Fortunately, my OBGYN office was located right at the hospital, and I think that became really important for me too. So we got to the hospital within 15 minutes, and they whisked me right up to their office, straight into an ultrasound room. And there things were also odd. It was just hard to understand everything that was happening because it was all happening so quickly. And the ultrasonographer, she helped me get up on the table, and but she tried to adjust the dials, and you just couldn't see anything on the screen. And that didn't make any sense to me either. So I asked her, is your machine working? Because you just couldn't see anything. And her response was, I'll be right back with the doctor. So my husband and I looked at each other. We know this is not good. We don't understand what's going on, but that's not good. And she returned very quickly with an OBGYN physician as well as with a nurse midwife. So we've now got 5 of us squeezed in this little ultrasound room at the doctor's office. And what the doctor said was, you've got some sort of major abdominal bleed. We can't see where it's coming from, but that's why there's just nothing. We can't visualize anything on the screen. So we need to admit you to the hospital. So I was immediately taken up onto the floors, and they gave me the room right next to the nurse's station, told me, just, you're going to need to lie in bed. You can't even get up to go to the bathroom. You're just going to need to lie here. We need to get this bleeding under control, and we need to call and get some blood for you. Do you know your blood type? So I told them, yes, it's A negative. I really think everyone should know their blood type, because you just never know how quickly something like this can happen. And they're calling for blood from the Central Blood Bank in the Seattle area. Many hospitals use a central blood bank to not be wasting blood supplies. And what the nurse found out was there had been a major train collision, some sort of train accident a few days earlier. And guess what? They didn't have any A negative blood for me. So there was a delay in getting that. She's making more calls, and the physician is talking with me about having surgery. And I'm just kind of looking at him like, we need to just slow the roll here a little bit because I can't quite catch up to what's happening. Is it possible that this is going to resolve on its own and, via some transfusions? And he agreed and said, yes, that does make sense, but, just stay in bed. We're going to be monitoring you, etc., and see if we can get this to resolve. Perhaps it's been gallbladder, appendix, perhaps something has burst that is not uh, not mission critical, but why is your abdomen distending so much? Because it looks like there's still a lot of blood being lost. So we do get the blood transfusions do arrive, and they just start transfusing me. And it was just so painful, and I was going through so much blood. So, but again, we're hoping this can be resolved. And I don't want to have surgery. It's just that sort of a situation. You're pregnant. You don't obviously want to be going through this situation. So I'm like, can we wait? Can we see if this resolves, etc. So we did that. We did wait and watch for about 2 or 3 days. But my hematocrit, which is a measure of your health, your viability, kept going down and down and down.
My
So
goodness.
on the second or third day, the physician said to me, you're officially bleeding out, so we do need to do surgery. So we schedule surgery, and I know it's going to be the first thing the next morning, and it's going to be 2 OB/GYN physicians. And after dinner that night, I'm just trying to relax. I'm trying to gather my strength. I'm trying to visualize a positive outcome. The minute I visualize a positive outcome, I pop out of my body. I now feel fantastic. No more worry, no more pain, etc. I look back at my body. I know it's a part of me. I know it's me, but it's not all of me. It's not the real me. And I'm not very interested in the body. I'm just kind of like, oh, she's fine. And I also noticed I'm referring to myself in the third person, which I didn't think was a great sign. But I'm more interested in the light I can see above me. So I float up through the ceiling, I float up outdoors. I can see all around me, and I'm looking up to the light. And I did have a funny thought, oh, please don't make me walk through a tunnel. I just do not have enough energy to walk through a long tunnel. Immediately, this pristine escalator comes in, and I ride the escalator up to the top. There's this beautiful waiting committee for me of about 20 beings of light. All my grandparents, all 4 of them, the angels that were in my bathroom, they all give me this beautiful hug. That hug just changed my life. It was unconditional love. It was true healing. It was incredible. And the same angel that spoke to me in my bathroom said, you need to know some things very quickly here. Welcome home. You're absolutely welcome to stay. It's your choice. You've done nothing wrong. But if you want to go back, you're going to have to do it quickly. So what I'd like you to know is if you choose to go back, you will have a successful surgery tomorrow. You will fully recover, and your baby will be born healthy. So that
2 minutes.
was huge to learn that. And then the next thing he said, but you need to know life is going to be very difficult for many years because you're not on your light path. So knowing I was not on my life path really concerned me. But none of them would tell me more because I just had to discover it for myself. So that I did, but it took quite a few years to do so. It took until 2010. It took a divorce. It took many other hard things, but forever grateful for that experience and for the angels helping me. And that's why I'm here to be able to tell this story. My books are available on Amazon and Audible. And I podcast twice a month, Waking Up Spiritually podcast. And that website is included here. And if anyone has additional questions or would like to talk with me about services I offer, I'd be happy to do that with you via my website. And I so look forward to hearing the next 2 speakers and then doing Q&A at the end. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Wendy. That was just awesome. And I think we'll stay with the ladies. Tamara Calder Richardson will be next, and she's also known as the Southern Bell Medium. She's a 6-time near-death experiencer, a multiple STE experiencer, a Christ channeler, a Christian minister, a mystic seer, evidential medium. Tamara was born in Hickory, North Carolina. She is of Cherokee and German Swedish descent. She was born with the gift of sight. Tamara trained for 8 years in the British style of evidential mediumship, which with international mediums and authors. Tamara is on the Spiritual Awakenings International Advisory Board. She is also president of IONS in Charlotte, and she's the host of the popular YouTube show Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience, and Other Phenomena. Tamara, welcome. We'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction. And I am very humbled to be here among such beautiful spiritual leaders. And this has been very exciting. So thank you, Robert, Linda, and Dr. Von Kaysen. So I have had 6 near-death experiences, but I'm not going to go into too much of that because I am a speaker in December for Spiritual Awakenings International. So we'll leave some of that juicy stuff there. I will brush over it really quickly, but I have so many spiritually transformative experiences. I can't even begin to cover them, but it's going to be a fun roller coaster ride. So I'm just going to dive right in. So just very quickly about my 6 near-death experiences. Again, I'll be speaking in December, full in depth, and I am actually going to go deeper than I normally do. I have to tell you, a lot of near-death experiences, which I interview on my channel, we don't always tell everything because it's a very sacred experience. So I will be telling more of the details because I feel like it's my community in December. And I do have my video on my channel, the PowerPoint, but I'll be going more in depth in the December one. So just to highlight some of my my near-death experiences, and then I'll go into the spiritual transformative experience. So I had one as a prenatal, and I had a head injury. I didn't know that was a thing till I read some of PMH Atwater's books, but I have full memory of before being here and being, I guess, a growing embryo and so forth. And I guess I was meant to be here because I didn't quite make it. And my mother hemorrhaged, but here I am. And then at 3 years old, I was playing in an antebellum home with my cousin, and there was a nail underneath the dresser and went through my head. That'll connect you with your crown chakra real fast. Wouldn't recommend it though. So, and in that experience, I did see angels and beings of light and so forth. And I'll tell you more juicy stuff later. So then when I was 4, it was a car wreck. I went through the windshield and I went through the notorious, what it felt like a tunnel. And Jesus was in that one, and also deceased family members. So 3, 4, and 5 were kind of rough years. 5 was the big one. If you would say that. I was dead on arrival at this one with pneumonia, and I was put in induced coma. I was dead for some time. And I actually was dead. They clocked me in because I heard everything, 15 minutes, but they actually covered the sheet over me. They worked on me for 2 hours. So, and here I am still. What a wonderful resurrective God we have. It's pretty amazing. So, and then when I was 10, drowning and at a family vacation, just an accident. It was in the pool. And then at 28, I had a reaction to 1 menstrual migraine pill. And so that's just a little bit of that. So it's kind of interesting. So many of those were to the head and to the face. I had to have 2 surgeries later to remove cartilage from that car accident at 4. And I'm like, it's amazing that it didn't affect my head in any way. At least I don't think so, because, I've never been slowed down on anything. So now getting into my spiritually transformative experiences, I had to really think about this, and I wanted to give you some juicy little golden nuggets that I don't tell people. And it's not that I'm trying to, be particularly secretive. It's just that I guess I'm so used to not telling people things. I'm still getting used to coming out that this is a safe community. So some of the ones that I chose to talk about is when I was 3 years old, because I had the prenatal, and at 3, that first one, I was at that point on seeing fully and communicating with spirit people. They looked just like us. Like, I didn't know that they were, I mean, they're not dead, but I didn't know that they were different, because they actually were solid. They looked just like us. So that was, I couldn't really talk about that. I knew when I said a couple things, I got a frown from my mom. So I just never really talked. And then I would see angels, and I would see them in different ways. I would see them, which I saw in my NDEs too, but I would see them as colored orbs. I would also, and I still do, I see them as waves of color. I'll see it in the hall and I'm like, wow, it's purple tonight. Ooh, it's pink tonight. As I'll see them like that. I'll also see them as brightly light humanoid shapes that are really big, like 9 feet, and just very holy. I've also, growing up, seeing demons crawl on the wall. That was not pleasant. I didn't know what they were, but I knew it wasn't good. And I've always had the ability of discernment to call them out by name and all that. And 14 deliverances later, I think they're more afraid of me because I walk with God. So than that, but it was difficult because I didn't have anyone to talk to. When I was 4 years old, I started remote viewing, and I call that, my definition of that, not maybe in the traditional sense, is that I would, in this physical world, I would just go to different rooms. And part of it that I did that as I did also as a baby. I do recall doing that as a baby, because I heard, we lived in this very big Victorian home, my grandparents' home. They had money, and they worked very hard for everything. They had a hosiery mill, but I couldn't walk because I was like, less than a year old. So I would go and follow them and listen to their conversations. And yeah, I learned a lot. So I did that early on, partly because I was nosy. And then later on, it was to avoid things, which brings me to when I was primarily, it started around 3.5, but really hard. It was just suck from 5 to 12 years old. I had intense sexual abuse from my stepdad. I did. It was bad. I mean, like trying to hide, lock myself in the closet. So I learned to, at will, leave my body. So, a lot of these things that people say, gosh, Tamara is so gifted. I'm like, they don't know. It was because I was using it to, for survival instincts. So it did work. And I actually can do it at will. And it's like I would see myself from above or different locations as a doll. And then I would say from 12 years on, I started doing astral travel and out of body, because I really didn't want to be here. I like the other realms, which sometimes I do get sad. Sometimes I miss the heavenly realms. I do. But now I know I can go there. So I'm so much better. But the astral traveling and going to the more angelic heavenly realms, I still do that, but started doing that early on because I missed it so much. And after being, when I was 5, in my near-death experience with Christ for 3 days, really doesn't get better than that. There's a lot of love there. So that's what I started doing early on. And then as I would astral travel, much like my near-death experiences, I would walk into a place that looked like paradise. And I would see these brightly lined flowers everywhere with these spectacular colors that are more than here. And he would walk with me and we would just talk, but we'd still do that. I go in the astral realm and he'll tell me things just like you would with a good friend, and we would have whole conversations. So that still continues. I just never really told anyone about that. And then at some point, I think adolescence and puberty set in. So I was, around, you figure 13, 15, but by 16, I was interested in boys. I was not interested in Barbies anymore. I used to live my life through Barbie, and I had the townhouse. I had the huge, whatever house, because I would pretend, oh, I can live through them. But I put the walks with Christ behind and all those spiritual things pretty much so on hold because of boys and all that. And then I actually went through, it was high school, college, didn't really party in college. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was trying to
5
be
minutes.
mature. Pardon?
5 minutes.
Okay. And so thanks, Robert. I appreciate that. And so I put that on hold, and it wasn't till later in life, around 34, I started having a massive spiritual transformation. I own an advertising agency, and I was in about 14 years in prayer and really deep prayer, like what I should do. I had no clue, and it all came flooding back. And all the abilities and all the gifts came, they came flooding back, including conversations with Christ constantly and a lot of mystical experiences. Just 2 weeks ago, I'm not even Catholic. I saw Mother Mary as a vision, and she gave me a whole message, and it was really beautiful. So this is kind of the way that I've always lived, and this is normal to me. And until really that I came across, Dr. Von Kaysen's book with Touched by the Light, I didn't realize these were actual, spiritual, mystical phenomena. And it's given me a lot of peace about that. And so now I've channeled not only Christ, Sai Baba, Yogananda. I don't try. They come to me and they go, hey, the other 2 weeks ago it was Tesla. I don't even know anything about Tesla. So it's just because I'm connected to that other side. And I think we all can be. So in closing, I think it has to do removing our blockages and fear and allowing God's divine love to flow through us like a living river, and that seeing the miracles in life as magic, and like we once did as little children, and removing all the limitations and letting more love grow in our heart, which is where God connects with us, and to be bolder and live our passion and our joy. And as Jesus tells me, I really like this. He says, be the love you were created to be. So as I say, we all have a fan club in heaven. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Karen. It was wonderful.
Thank you. And I'll put my information at the bottom. And I have 2 shows a week on Friday and Thursday with spiritual leaders, which I've had Robert Bear and Dr. Von Kaysen. So I'm going to put this down below in the thing. Thank you.
Just as a side note, Tamara had me on for a segment she called Puppy Love on Valentine's Day. And she brought up every animal that I've ever had. It was phenomenal. I have no idea what happened to me when I was done with her show, but it's phenomenal. If you want to see that, it's on her channel. It was really it was a lot of fun to do. So
it was sweet. I like the raccoon. Later on, you remembered that darn raccoon. That's cute.
Next is Greg Thompson. And Greg comes to us from Portland, my area. He's an Oregonian, like I am. He's a retired IBM software engineer. He lives with spirit guides daily. He has multiple STEs, several near-death experiences, 1 shared death experience. And Greg is also the current group leader of Portland Ions. Greg, take it away. It's good seeing you.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you, Yvonne. And I really appreciate Spiritual Awakenings allowing me to talk here. Yeah, my spirit guides are friends, really good friends. People may call them angels or messengers, but to me, they're just friends. It all started at a very young age. My first memory or awareness of them was when I was sitting on the floor in a living room and playing with a toy. And as I'm playing with it, I hear somebody say, memorize the room. I'm going, what? What do you mean? And they said, remember where everything is. Remember where the furniture is, the colors of the furniture. Color is very important. Remember everything you can. And also, and so that was it. So I started memorizing the living room, figured it all out. I turned and looked back and saw the dining area of the house and figured that one out. And I knew where the kitchen was, but I hadn't really planned to go in there. I just stayed where I was and remembered that. and in the bedroom down the hall where my mother slept, and I slept in a crib. And I got done with that and thought, well, wait a minute, why do I have to know this? And the answer was because something's about to happen. The doorbell rang. My mother came out of the bedroom down the hall, picked me up, put me in her arms, and went to the door, opened the door, and there was a man standing there in uniform. I recognized that uniform. It was very similar to, in fact, it looked identical to one of a man, that's a portrait of him in the living room. And I'd heard a few days before that that man was my father, though I had never met him. As far as I knew, I couldn't remember ever seeing him. So this must be Daddy at the door. Let him in, let him in. All right. Well, she didn't. And he started talking. He introduced himself and he gave his condolences to my mother. They got really quiet, reverent, talking quietly. And I understood most of the conversation, but there were two words that I didn't know, and they stuck out. One was dead and one was death. I was pretty shaken by that. He left, and my mother put me back down on the floor where I was and went running down the hall into the bedroom and started crying and crying and crying. I told my mother that story on her deathbed. We had 12 hours, luckily, at home before she had to go back to the hospital for the final time. And I told it to her in detail, which I'm leaving out for reasons today. And she, I wasn't looking at her. And I finally, when I got done, I looked at her and she had tears down her cheeks. And she said, "How could you have known that? You were so young. You remembered it. You remembered the room, the house, everything about it. You got right. And the conversation, you understood the conversation? How could you possibly do that? You were so young." And I go, "Well, I did." And she said, "But you knew your father was dead?" I said, "Well, not really. I just knew I wouldn't see him." She said, "Well, pretty much the same thing." And I said, "Well, how old was I at that time? And where were we?" She goes, "Oh, well, we were in a house off of base at the Kansas City Air Force Base." And she said, "We were only there for a month, maybe 2 at the most. And so you were about 4 or 5 months old." That was my introduction to death in this life on Earth. At the age of 4, my mother had remarried when I was 2. And so at the age of 4, I was living in another place in Oregon City, not far from Portland. And I was my room was up in the upper floor. And I would start floating at night out of my body. And I loved it because you just float up and you float down. It felt so good. I did that every night for a couple of weeks. And then one night, a couple of spirit guides appeared on my right side. Now, I didn't see them. I could just feel them. And they were telling me, "Fly higher, fly higher." I go, "What? Fly higher? You can fly higher." I said, "Well, okay." So I flew up to the top of the room. They said, "Well, you can fly higher." Well, they convinced me to fly right on through the house, out of the house, up into the sky. And we flew off planet. We went way out, far, far out. And we got probably, well, I don't know how far, but way out into the solar system. And we met 3 other spirits. They took over the journey. The first 2 left. And the 3 said, "Okay, we're going to really go fast now." And I'm just going along with the ride. I don't know what's going on. Okay, fine. So off we go. And we're going so fast that I can see stars, but they look like streaks of light going by. And we entered a tunnel of colored light. There's a circular tunnel. And we're shooting through the thing. And it's blue, white, yellow, green lights flashing by, zipping by. And I had one spirit guide on my left side, one on my right side, and one behind me. And they said, "Just keep looking straight ahead. Look straight ahead. Look for the end of the tunnel. And just keep your mind on that." I don't know how long we were in there. It seemed for quite a while. But when we came out, we were in a dark void. I said, "Well, what do we do now?" And they said, "Just wait." Okay, wait. Well, 2 lights started appearing far, far away, coming toward me. but they just very slowly came up to me. And when they got up to me, they were about the size of an adult. And they were white light, and kind of like a cylinder, but not specifically a cylinder, just kind of a white lights. And one of them on the left said, "We're your teachers. We're here to teach you what you need to know here on this life at Earth." I go, okay. So he said, "Repeat after me." And they told me something, and I had to repeat it, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then the other one said, "Okay, it's my turn. I have something you have to learn." And so he started going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the morning in my bed. What the heck was that? That's the weirdest dream I've ever had. Well, I kept floating out of the bed every night. And about 10 days or so later, spirit guides came back and said, "The teachers want to see you again." So we went back again, and they did the same routine, repeating back and forth, both of them. I ended up back at home in bed in the morning. I'm going, okay, one time, well, that was a weird dream. Two is, what the heck is going on? I kept on floating out of the bed every night. Yep, they came back again. And this time they went back and the teacher said, "You tell us." So I repeated what I'd been taught, and I taught both. And evidently I did it right because they didn't ask any more. But one thing they did tell me at that time was, you're not going to remember what you've been told until you need to know it. Okay, so that's where that ended. And I kept floating out of bed, but never had the spirit guides take me back to the teachers again. Later that same year, I met my guardian angel. We were I was at my grandmother's house, and she had a guest bedroom, and I got to sleep in that room for a change. It's the first time I'd done that. I always had to sleep in the room with her, and she snores at night, so I didn't really like that. But now I had my own room, an adult bed, an adult bedroom. I must be growing up now. Yeah, 4 years old. Okay, but I'm lying there thinking about this stuff, and all of a sudden became aware that there was somebody else or something in the room. I kind of looked around a little bit, and then I saw it. It was on the bottom right corner of the bed. It was a little boy, and he had his back to me, and his legs crossed, and he was writing something. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute, that's not a boy, because he's kind of a white bluish color, and I can see through him. I can see the furniture behind him. I just stared at him. What the heck is he doing? Well, finally he finished writing. He turned around and looked at me, and he said, "Oh, hello." "Hi." I asked, what are you doing here? Who are you? He said, "Oh, well, I'm your guardian angel. And I'm just looking on you to see how you're doing. How are you doing?" "I'm doing okay." "Well, good. That's what I put in the report." We're just staring at each other again. I'm going, "Who are you reporting to?" He said, "Oh, I have some superiors. They want to know how you're doing periodically." "Okay, fine. Well, if they want to know off and on, and you're going to come back every once in a while, right?" And you go, "Yeah." "So am I supposed to be doing something and you're just checking to see I'm doing it?" "Well, you have choices. You can do anything you want." "Yeah, but what is there something I'm supposed to be doing?" "Well, I can't tell you that. You have choices." Well, the conversation didn't go any further than that, you know. So by that point in time, I knew that I probably had a path of some sort I was supposed to follow, but I didn't know what it was. I have choices. I don't have to follow the path. Okay, great. And then I had been told some things I would know later in life. Okay, so what the heck's going on? Well, at the age of 17, just skipping forward a bit, I was in college, University of Oregon, and I was trying to figure out what to do. I'm a freshman, and I had I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. I had no idea. And I also seemed to have my social life was really a mess. I was very scared of girls, and I would just kind of, look around like this and just kind of shuffle my feet and stutter. Well, that's not the way to find anybody in your life, right? Then all of a sudden, I became aware that I'd have a wonderful career. It'd be a fantastic career. And I would stay in it as long as I wanted. I would never be fired. I'd never be let go. And I would retire when on my own terms. And I also learned that there'd be a woman in my life, a wonderful woman I would love and care for a long time. And she would have a daughter from a previous marriage and would have grandchildren. So I'd have a family. Wow. And that all came true. It actually came true. As pointed out earlier, I was in the business for 43 years as a software engineer. And Nancy is a fantastic love. I couldn't imagine life without her. Some experiences I've had with spirit guides, one of them was kind of interesting at 2018. I was taking well, actually, I think it was 2016, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter. I was taking a plane down to, from Seattle, where I lived at the time, down to Anaheim. And so I got a shuttle service to take me to the airport. And I was told there was only going to be one other person or one other ride on the trip. So I sat in the back bench of the van, and we went about a couple of miles down the road, and they picked up the other person. It was a lady, and she sat in front of me. And we started doing the usual chit chat.
5 minutes.
Thank you. And she seemed to be concerned or worried about something. She had a boyfriend that we met, high school reunion a long time ago. And she hit it off with him. Her husband had passed away recently, and his wife had left him, divorced him. So they were having a good time, and he invited her to come up and stay. And she did, and that's why she was going back home now. And she was debating about staying or not because he asked her if she would move in with him, and she wasn't really sure about that. So the conversation kind of stopped there, and all of a sudden I felt a cold air on the back of my neck and head, and I heard telepathically, "May I enter your body so I can talk to her?" And without hesitation, I said yes. And it did. And it had one question for her. "You already know the answer, don't you?" And it left. She turned and looked at me and said, "Do you believe in angels?" I nodded my head, yes. She said, "Yeah, so do I." And she turned and never said another word. So hopefully she got what she needed to know. I've learned that spirit guides or angels, they don't tell you what to do. They will guide you though. And I have been guided many times. As I pointed out, I was told some paths I didn't have to follow, but I did. I feel very fortunate that way. I have tested them once or twice. One of the things, if I'm in danger of some sort, physical danger, I'll feel weights on the bottom of my on my shoulders, and I have had that happen. And I was thinking about taking a certain route home or something like that, and different than I normally do. And that's when I get the weight. I gotta go, I wonder if that's really true or not. Is that really them doing that? And I would go ahead and I do what I planned to do anyway. And it turns out I was almost in an accident. I had the awareness because of the information I'd gotten from the spirit guides. So I was prepared, and I managed to avoid the accident that would have happened. So I know they really are looking out for me. I also know that they help me manifest what I need to know. If I do some prayers, meditations, and I have the energy behind it, the emotion behind it, I really want that. That's something I really desire, that they will help make that happen. They will work for me to help that happen. I think that's a fantastic way to live. I've been asked, who are spirit guides? Personally, I believe they're soulmates. They are, I think there's a lot of them out there. I don't think it's just like you have one soulmate in the whole universe. I mean, this is a big universe and universes. So I think there's a lot more to it. I think I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And I think it's possible that there are souls that were created at the same time as I was. Hundreds of them came out at the same time out of a white light. And we are into this new world. And we help each other. There's so many times that I have met somebody and I go, I know you. And they say, yeah, I know you. And we start talking to each other. We know each other. Now, how can that be if you've never met them before? You know, there's connections. How about if you're thinking about somebody and you're wondering, gee, I haven't seen that person for, gosh, 3 years. The phone rings or an email arrives or a text. They're going to be in town. They'd like to get together and let's get together and talk. Yeah. There's something real there. That's really something really there. I think that's about all I've got right now. But I want to say that I really enjoy living with my spirit guides. And by the way, that is the name of my book, Living with My Spirit Guides. Hope you enjoyed. And thank you very much for letting me talk today.
Hey, thank you, Greg. That was wonderful. The whole panel was wonderful, and we got a whole lot of questions to go through here. And first one,
Actually, Robert, before we start the questions, accidentally Tamara got lost 5 minutes from her presentation time, and she has a wonderful message that she wanted to share that she didn't have the opportunity to share. So I secretly said that she could share it before we start the question and answer period.
sure,
That be okay?
that would be wonderful. Sorry if I slighted you.
Oh, no, you guys are doing great. I'm fine. I'm just happy to be here. I was enjoying listening. But I have something I think that people might understand. And I think this is available to all of us. I don't think it has to be uniquely me. I've been working on listening a long time, but I have here a message. They're very short, both of them. But it is from Jesus. I want you to get an idea how he talks to me. I'm going to read this. I pulled this up. This was at the INES Orlando, Florida conference in July of 2016. This was 15 minutes before I was supposed to talk. And I'm like, really? This is really not a good time. And he gave me this. And this is what it says. There is no life not divinely created into existence. No meeting by accident that just appears as ships passing in the night, as random particles uniting by chance. All actions thereof are of divine will and co-creation with all. Through the soul, heaven and earth are reunited through the joining of heart, soul beings, at last dancing in celebration of love that they have shared and will share. Each spiritual being is unique as a unique flower in God's living garden, pollinating this planet with their own unique variety of talent, knowledge, wisdom, skills, and words of support. Together, we form God's beehive of life with so much activity, vigor, and life generated just within our own self. Today, as you are, breathe in and exhale out life. I pour divineness around you. The world fools us into believing life is just one big long to-do list, starting with chores, getting a paycheck, taking care of one's family, being a parent, a spouse, a worker, including eating and sleeping, and then repeating it all over again. And yes, part of this physical dimension does require that. However, you are the soul, the spirit light that guides not just your journey, but unknown to you, you are also the tour guide director of life for others. Never, never underestimate the life that is in you, the life that has been given to you, and the life that you will give. And small acts of kindness to large acts of sacrifice, it all counts toward the greater good of all on heaven and on earth. We see you. We see your heart's intent. I love you for your greater search for higher questioning, willingness to step forward and say, I differ. That answer is just not good enough, and I want to know more. And there lies integrity and honor to your own spirit. Today, you are here not by random chance, but you, the soul being, wanting more actually from your own self. And through tears of suffering or joy, no, you are at this time on your path perfectly and exactly where you need to be, where you agreed to be. Together with God's love, we change perception and reality on earth to our own agreed upon reality, which is the freedom to be. By birthright, we are a brilliant, sparkling star featured in our own movie, choosing our script, the cast members, and how we even promote our own movie. You have always been free to choose all things. No one is ever a victim. For those labeling themselves as such are only giving shallow excuses of their own altered reality. Open your heart, surrender to my Father's glory, and let your soul shine. With God, know all things can be accomplished through him. Have trust, my friends. Know all will be well as it should be to those that surrender their worries to the Most High. For in God, you will find peace, acceptance, love, and all your answers you seek will no longer be a mystery. Be still and wait for your crown. Clear your mind from the clutter and step into your destiny. I have a place ready for you that is already yours. In this life, it is not about the fond memories involving laughter, family, and friends dear to us, the happy and sad times shared, nor is it the degrees, the novels read or published, or how many frequent flyer miles you've earned. But in the end, it is about how open your heart has been to being love and giving love. I want each of you to know my Father's love, which awaits you generously and abundantly. I love you, Jesus.
Wow. Just as a reminder, SAI every month has a free presentation. All you have to do is get on and subscribe and sign up, and Tamara will be our guest speaker in December, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, and Spirit's planned some big treat, so I don't know what that
Oh,
is. So it'll be
stay
special.
tuned. Let's get to the questions. Wendy, I actually wrote this question, and I know you answered it, but when you write an answer, sometimes if you were to discuss it or talk about it, you may add a few more things. I've been an old professor for a long time, so you mentioned a farewell tour. Has this only happened to you the one time? And was there any communication involved with it with your loved one?
Yes, I believe my uncle was on his farewell tour as he was dropping his body, and he was going around because both of his daughters, my two cousins, sensed him that day too. And he woke me up like at 6 in the morning, and I had a 10-minute conversation with him. I saw him starting to go back to the light. And what was so marvelous was he was de-aging. And instead of being just in this broken down body of a man in his 80s in a nursing home who can't ambulate anymore, he looked like he was in his 40s, and he was wearing like these denim cutoff shorts. So there was just a lot of communication. And I asked him, do you want to practice walking to the light? And he said, yes. So we practiced doing that together.
Awesome.
It was amazing.
I have two back-to-back questions for Tamara. One's for me again. Your visits with Jesus, will you talk in more detail when you do your SAI presentation in December?
Yes, yes. I've been shy. It's not that I'm trying to hold back, but yeah, I will. I will definitely give more. This is safe, so I feel good. Yes.
And this is from Dr. Terry Daniel. Can you say something about the difference between Christ as a being and Christ consciousness?
Oh gosh, don't even get me going. This is just this is my personal opinion. Okay. Everybody can have their own. He is the man. He is who he says he is. I saw him in person in the flesh. July 17th, 2017, going to a concert downtown Charlotte in broad daylight. And that's a whole experience. It was amazing. And then I got a validation from a total stranger that came up to me and told me what I saw and said, yeah, I talked to him too. He wanted me to know that. He's real. I don't think he ever left. He's supernatural. I mean, the way I look at it, the other people that I talked to, different, like Confucius or Buddha, they are prophets. I look at him as the Messiah. He's kind of a big deal. That's how I look at it. The Christ consciousness. I don't know. He's real. He's dimensional. I don't know what to say. I've seen him.
Thank you. Greg, did your spirit guides have names? When they told you, you will not remember what they told you until you need to know, did this actually happen or you remembered this? And how many times do you recall this happening?
Wow. No, they don't have names. That's I never even thought, when you're young like that, you just assume they're adults and you don't bother asking questions like that. I did try going back again on my own, actually only about 15 years ago. And I was able to travel over to the house I used to live in, and I went out that way. I went through the tunnel. I got to that spot and there was nothing there. They just weren't there. So, but they were definitely real to me at that time, and I still believe that were real. They gave me two different answers of things. I forgot to tell the second one, and that was the fact that I had a life path to follow after retirement, and that is to write the book that I needed to do and to talk about it. And the book had to do with 9/11. There's a whole chapter in it about 9/11. I saw that for 30 years in advance before it happened. In March of 1971 is when I first was aware of it. It kind of stayed in the background. I saw a plane coming through the city at a low level and never coming out the other end, and I knew it hit something, but I didn't know what. But periodically it would come back. That same dream would keep coming back, and then starting in 1997 through 1999, every night I had the same vision. Something bad's going to happen, and I knew what it was. It was going to be the World Trade Center was being hit. It goes on that way. And when I was in China at the time it happened, I saw it happen. I was Beijing is 12 hours ahead of New York City, so it's 8 a.m. in the morning in New York City. It's 8 p.m. the same day in Beijing. And I was at a concert, and while watching the concert, I saw the first tower come down, and I was told, "Say, help them live." I've been told many times before, help people die, but this one was help people live. I tried, but they were basically running on instinct, and I couldn't help them much at all. And then after it, the next day when I saw it on television, I was happy because it was over. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Everybody knows about it now. And then immediately after that, I had guilt because I didn't stop it. I knew when it was going to happen. I knew why it's going to happen. I knew who was going to do it. I knew how they're going to do it. And I wasn't able to stop it. And I went into deep depression. A friend of mine helped me out with that by getting me in touch with some people down here in the Portland area to talk about it. And I talked to them about it, and that helped. And they basically told me, write the book. And that's part of the a pattern that I was told by the teachers that I had to write the book and talk.
I have a follow-up question from Dr. Terry Daniel to you. Were you raised with a Christian indoctrination?
No, no. Well, we celebrated Christmas and Easter and things of that sort, but no, I never went to church. I was forced to do that. My mother, for some reason, about the age of 8, decided I had to go to Sunday school. And that was an absolute disaster. I didn't know, I had never read the Bible. I had never had any teachings about it. And the teacher would ask questions of me and I had no answers and the kids would laugh at me. So I gave up that whole idea.
Thank you. And this is for Tamara again. Have you had many experiences with star beings? Cosmic, this is from Candace Sanderson, by the way. Have you had many experiences with star beings, cosmic beings? If so, how do they present to you? Colors, shapes, humanoid, and what does their energy feel like? What emotions do they provoke in you?
Well, that's heavy. Hey, Candace. Candace was on my show. She's fantastic. And also as a messenger. Okay. So this whole spiritual journey, it's evolving. And one of the things I was told in August, I was told to actually start my YouTube channel. And Jesus said, all religions. He said, all religions. He said, yeah, you need to work on your judgment. You need to, you don't like when you're judged, so you need to be more open. I said, okay. And he goes, I said, so like how? I'll show you. So it's been an unfolding. He said, I also want you to let go of all past judgment. So what do you mean? He goes, I want mysteries. I said, UFOs and Bigfoot. He goes, yeah. So since then, I had some UFO people on my YouTube channel and was talking about a dream I had. And apparently I've been communicating with very high level light beings, the Galactic Federation. Like I knew way too much. And they're just very concerned about us at this point in time. They don't intervene. So I've been talking to someone called Astar, who hangs out with Jesus. And now we had talked about, I think that before, Candace, but I had a friend who said, hey, I said, my energy's been wonky. I usually can handle it myself in meditation. She goes, oh, this girl's great. I said, no, I usually don't, I have my healer favorites. And I said, no, she's great. And I got this DNA activation. And ever since then, I haven't been the same. 2 more later, I'm seeing sacred geometry. I'm having Metatron around. This is the way I look at it. It's a big universe. God's in control of so many things. That's why it's so important to be grounded, because there's wormholes, there's a lot going on. There's lower dimensions, there's higher dimensions, but we also need to be grounded to this planet. But yeah, I am. And then I'm also talking to Syrians apparently, but they're a higher vibration than here. And they just come in a real unified, simple flow of love. And it's not even really, I guess it's concern, but it's just like love and unity is higher than here. I think they're worried that we're going to blow each other up. I think I'm just paraphrasing it. And they're just concerned, but they can't really get involved, but they are observing. So my emotions about that, kind of pretty shocking, not really what we talk about in the Bible Belt. So I have to have a laugh about this because this is something new for me.
Follow-up question. What was the message Virgin Mary gave you?
Yeah, it was after I had a group medium demonstration. I took a nap afterwards. It was very holy, a lot of really deep messages. And I was taking a nap and I woke up and I went, hey, is that you, Mother Mary? That's what I said. And she had white on and she had the blue and she was very glowy. And she has this very soft, feminine energy. And she had her heart center was really full of light. And she held up one hand and the hand had a flame in it. And the flame turned into a white dove. And then the other hand, she turned it over my head and it was like water, but I sensed it was like holy water. And then it turned into holy oil and it went over my feet. And then she began saying this. I wrote it down because I didn't know what it meant. And I'm still trying to figure out all of this because I'm not Catholic. So I'm still trying, maybe someone has a better idea than I do about this. But she said that I am she mentioned the Rose of Sharon and that I am also a sister in the Rose of Sharon. I looked it up. Some people think that means Jesus. I don't know, but she said that. She began telling me that she said her son, God, the angelic realm, see all what we do and how we're trying to connect people. And they help us in our and our dream state too. And then she said that they're helping us with a better world. And she said that the reason I've been attracted to roses so much is because the smell of it, she said that it helps unfold my heart. And then it was very quick telepathy. And then she said, don't ask for perfection, but stay humble and vulnerable, and with childlike wonder, and keep treating people like their family, because they receive that, they understand that. And then she said, then it kind of got serious. And then she said, my sacred sister in the Lord, great redeemer of humanity, the great redeemer of humanity, is here. He is who he says he is. He is the one that will save the day. He has heard your everyone's cries from you and others. You are free. You will never be in bondage because you belong to my son. He adores you. You will not escape upsets in the world. You will always have our immediate support, love, and devotion, an endless supply of guidance and protection. But she says, we see all the dark plans of your world, and the answer has already been written. The creator of all, the Alpha and the Omega, has sent forth the Redeemer into your realm to offer hope and to clean up this dark order and agenda. Christ is fair, but God's justice and wrath is great, fine-tuned and well-deserving. There are some that will not change hate into love, but get more hate. But it's time now for a love revolution, a time of kindness, harmony, and peace. You are one of my son's foot soldiers, and although you don't feel worthy of this task, you're totally qualified in my regards. My son smiles at you and speaks of you. We both love you. And then I looked up the Rose of Sharon, and there's two passages that it refers to in Revelations, and it said the same thing. It said in Isaiah 44:6. I don't know the Bible that much like I should. I don't. And it says that the whole I am the Alpha and the Omega. And again, Revelations 28:12-14. I am the Alpha and the Omega. The Redeemer is coming. So she said kind of like what was there, which was the reference to that. So what does it all mean? It's kind of deep. I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know every message. Sometimes I have to sit on it and ponder it and wait for it to fully unfold and be patient. I'm okay with that, but it's pretty heavy. I mean, it was comforting, but it's kind of serious too. So maybe someone else might know.
That question, by the way, was from Clara. And
Thanks.
Ellen Curtis has a question. I'm gonna give it to Wendy. Angel's heavenly mission assigned to us the moment our soul was born. Can you answer that?
Was the question, are angels assigned to us from the moment we're
I think
born?
so. It must be.
My belief is absolutely yes, that we all have spirit guides, and they can take many forms, whether it's an angel, an ascended master, a benevolent being from another planet, an amazing totem animal, or an animal companion. They just can take many, many forms. And I believe we have to ask for their help and be willing to hear them and work with them, because we've got free will. And if we're just like, oh, I'm going to do it all myself, and stumble around, that's a choice too. It's a very instructive choice. But I believe, yes, absolutely. We all have spirit guides and angels to assist us.
Thank you. I have another question for you. How did you find your way back to your life purpose? This is from Shira Taylor.
Yes,
Dr.
I didn't know what my life purpose was in 97 when I had the NDEs. I was 36 years old, and it really bothered me that I did not yet know my life purpose. So it came in stages. We did go through some very, very tough times, my former husband and I, and we did divorce and went through just lots of changes and lots of struggle of rebuilding a family with 2 children where you're now in 2 households, etc. And what happened was in 2010, I then met the soulmate that had that contract, that soul contract to wake me up spiritually. And he did so by introducing me to Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. That shifted everything for me. I then had my own first past life regression and said, this is so life affirming, life enhancing, such change from it. I released a lifetime of anxiety in 2 hours. So within 2 or 3 years, I knew, okay, I am meant to become a past life regressionist. And over time, I became the Reiki master and the certified spiritual teacher. So that's how I got on my path, was through meeting that soulmate.
Thank you. There's so many questions here. I'm gonna skip around here a little bit. Greg, when you need feedback from your guides, this is from Dina. Do you have to speak to them out loud, or do they know what you were thinking?
That's a good question. I've had both ways, but most of the time it is, I just think it. It's a telepathic interface. And there's also, there is also, when that happens, a wonderment of love that comes to me at the same time. And it's kind of like, we're here to help you. And it's very gentle, very gentle. So yeah, it's, I have had him talk to me, but it was mostly when I was a little kid, like guardian angel, that sort of thing. Every time else, it's been telepathic.
Wow, thank you. There's so many here. There are some questions that focus on Jesus. So this is for Tamara. And if you're going to speak on this in December, let me look at some of the other ones here. This is Joshua Bagley. Have the panel members disconnected from mainstream media and culture since they talk frequently with guides and Jesus? I guess I'll give it to Wendy first.
Yes, absolutely. I disconnected from mainstream media 25 years ago. I did it, interestingly, during my first pregnancy, and I just heard, don't listen to the news anymore. I could just hear it clear as a bell. So I disconnected at that point.
How about you, Greg?
Yeah, I'm not too connected to the news. I feel it. I can feel what's going on around the world, good and bad. And so I've never been really much into social media. I learned real soon when it first started coming out a long time ago now, that I saw the potential of where it was going to go. That humans just can't afford to keep their mouth shut and say the most ridiculous things. And as far as I could tell, there was no way that social media was actually regulating itself. And so I found no interest in it. And the news, I turn on the news basically to validate what I already know. And that seems to be pretty true.
I'm going to give you the same question, Tamara. Have the panel members disconnected from mainstream media and culture, news, etc., since they talk frequently with guides, Jesus, etc.?
Yes, but not completely, because we live in this world. So what I do is, I was told when I did the whole March to July, Jesus asked me to do channel messages. I told him no twice. And finally I said yes. I felt very uncomfortable about doing this. And he said all along through that thing, do not listen to men because they're lying to you. To listen to me. So, and this was the encouragement to people, is that you go directly. Our birthright is connected to the creator. There's no reason we shouldn't get that. So I do see what's going on, but I usually have a peanut gallery that goes, no, but there's layers of truth and untruth mixed in. And it's very, even people that are, psychic meetings professionally around the world, I know, it's hard for them because there's so much confusion. And so it's very important that I keep my portal clean, my 111 God portal. If I get upset anyway, even if it's not just the news or TV, I'll turn it. And I have to really regulate that very heavily. And I really try not to see the news except for about an hour a week.
Thank you. And I'm going to give Greg the last question, and I say this one for you specifically. It's from Yvonne Cason, Dr. Cason. Greg, can you tell us a little about your premonition about 9/11 and how that impacted your life? You kind of covered a little bit about it, but is there anything else you want to add?
It was a game changer. It really was. When it happened, like I said, I was watching a concert in Beijing. Just before I got the vision, I saw and felt an energy wave go across. And at that moment, I knew that history on the earth has just changed and we're now entering chaos. And I also predicted that I was wrong about the year, but I thought 2003, we would have a pandemic and it would originate from southern China. When I was on the tour in China, we went by Wuhan. We were in Wuhan and went by the lab. And when I looked at that lab and it had shutters, I just felt, this is not good. This is not good. Wuhan itself, I want to say, is a beautiful city. Very, very liberal, very open. Several major universities there with a lot of people from around the world there. So I can't blame the people there, but it was really bad. But after that, like I said, when I got back, I had to talk to some people just to see, because I was just going crazy, literally. I couldn't do my job or anything. And they soothed me down a little bit. And from that, I started taking notes and writing notes, journal, if you will. And I started seeing similarities in my life and such. And as far as future events go, we are in this moment of chaos, and it allows us to slow down, to reevaluate our existence. What is important to us? You know, is it important to get that new car, or is it important to love your loved ones and take care of, make sure even strangers are feeling better if you can. And so that's the way I've been going. I am now contacting with the universe, I call it, on a daily basis. And like I said, I have the spirit guides with me, and I talk to them every day. They don't always, and one of the things that bugs me is that when I start talking about spirit guides, they appear, and they're right here, right now, just happy I'm talking about them. But I really believe just doing simple little things every day, if we all would just take a moment of time and think about that as we're doing our daily life, about the fact that we can make a difference, even if it's a small difference. It has to start somewhere, right? One step, then the next step. I find when I go to the grocery store, I will, as I'm walking in, people are coming out of the grocery store and they're usually going, I need to go do this. I need to go do that now. That they got one task down, they're going to the next task. And they're kind of frowning or they're looking down because they're really thinking hard. And they'll suddenly see me and I'll smile at them. Well, now that I can, you know, but I'll smile at them. If with a mask, I just kind of wink my eyes a little bit. And I'll say hello. And they'll usually respond. And what's really neat about that moment in time is that they will look at me and they will smile, even if it's just through their eyes. And I see their soul at that moment. And we are connected. We are one at that moment in time. And they then move on, and they may not even consciously be aware of it, but they probably feel better now. And maybe they'll pass that along to the next person they see during the day. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I think we are moving, we are reevaluating our values worldwide, global. Thank God we're finally doing things on a global basis. We're actually thinking about that. I hope it doesn't go away when the pandemic starts going away. I hope that we continue the idea that there are places in the world that need help. They don't know how to do anything. They have nobody to guide them, right? And we're one of the richest countries in the world. We should be able to help them. So I feel that's what we should be doing right now. And I view that we're going to have a good future. Personally, the earth is going to have a good future. We as humans are learning how to be truly human, divine. So
Well, today's been a great day for SAI, and I want to thank everybody for their participation coming to the conference. I mean, I think Dr. Kason told me that we had 850 people sign up for today alone, which is incredible for our first day of conference. We are in 58 countries. We're global. I've said this before. I used to think it was we were just an organization, but I think Spiritual Awakenings International is a movement now, and we have no dogma. We have all these different topics that we cover on our monthly events and with our conferences. And if you have any ideas or thoughts, I think our board and the advisory board would love to hear from you. And before we sign off, Dr. Kason, did you want to say a few things? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
There you are.
I'll join. And I just want to thank everybody for coming. Let me just see here. I'm going to try and put the spotlight on myself. There we go. I want to thank everybody for coming and being a part of our first Spiritual Awakenings International Conference. Hopefully most of you will be coming tomorrow as well. I apologize very deeply that we had technical problems this morning. And so a number of people had difficulty logging in because you don't need to know the details, but we've solved the technical problems. So make sure tomorrow there's a different Zoom link for tomorrow. Make sure that you try to log in on the correct link, because if you log in on today's link, you won't get anywhere. So we'll be using the Sunday link tomorrow. Make sure you're looking at the corrected Sunday link that email has been sent to you. And the last thing I just want to say is, as we had up on the slide, that Spiritual Awakenings International is a volunteer-based organization. None of us are paid for what we do. We're all doing it as a gift of love to the planet, to our spiritual brothers and sisters around the planet. And but we do have operating expenses, and we are just delighted that we have our 501c3 not-for-profit status. So if you feel in your heart that you'd like to give some energy back in gratitude for what we experienced today, we would welcome donations of any size. You just go to our website, the donate page, you'll see the donate button, and that will help us keep all of our events free, because that is our vision. We think this information has to be out there for everyone, regardless of their financial means. So we want everything free. Our online events are free, our videos are posted for free, and on the YouTube channel, it's free. And the videos from this conference, yes, they will be free. So they will be posted on our website and eventually posted on our YouTube channel. I think Robert wants to add the final word.
Actually, I wanted to see if Linda wanted to say anything, our secretary.
I appreciate the opportunity, but I've just been so overwhelmed by hearing new insights to people's experience with the spiritual realms of life. And Greg, you kind of wrapped it up for me and some of your closers with your guides. I think we've all got guides. It's just, how good is our hearing? And I appreciate having the chance to hear messages from others.
And this has been a phenomenal year. It really has. Thank you all for supporting us. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All righty. So
Same Seattle.
everybody check your time zone tomorrow. So we start at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is noon Eastern time, which is 5 p.m. in the UK, which is, I believe, 2 in the morning in Sydney, Australia. So check that you're on the right time zone when you log in tomorrow. So bye, everyone.
By the way, Wendy, Greg, Tamara, great job. Thank you for a great panel. Thank you very much.
Au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, arrivederci. Ciao, everybody. See you tomorrow.